Hi everyone, Marla Miller from marlamiller.com. Just making sure that I'm getting recorded. This is the 37th quick query critique. I haven't been doing them in a while because people have been requesting privates or Skype sessions, and that's cool with me. But it's been probably a good month since I posted the last query letter. This one you're going to be hearing me say a lot of blanks, and for privacy reasons. And once you hear this query letter, you'll understand why. It's quite an interesting story. Okay, it's a memoir. Dear Blank, my memoir, A Warhol, a Madam, and a Murder, set in the 1970 Manhattan, tells the story of my unlikely relationships with wealthy surrealist artist Blank, his friend Andy Warhol, and mafia lawyer turned FBI informant Blank. In 1965, at age 14, I left my abusive family and boarded a bus for New York. By age 16, I was a single mother of a disabled child. With no education or job skills, I was lured into prostitution to care for myself and my child. In 1976, Blank became my client, and I entered his decadent world of excess, supported by the fortune he inherited from Blank Empire. I also began a love affair with former Manhattan ADA Blank. I had no understanding at the time of my lover's relationship with Blank, an underboss for the Blank crime family. To avoid indictment on narcotics charges, Blank became an FBI informant and testified against the Blank crime family. He told the FBI that he knew who killed Jimmy Hoffa and that he had the proof on tape. On November 3rd, 1977, my 27th birthday, as Blank and I returned from dinner, we were ambushed gangland style. Blank was killed and I was wounded and taken into protective custody. I would never learn what the small package was that Blank placed in my purse that night, as it was taken by the FBI. Could it have been the Hoffa tape? The FBI would hound me for information for several years afterwards. 3 years after Blank's murder, I accepted Blank's proposal of marriage and a large trust fund. After our marriage, Blank commissioned Warhol to do 4 portraits of me. Out of trauma, chaos, and danger, I was able to forge the quiet, safe life I had longed for since I was a young girl. This is a story of survival, transformation, and finding self-acceptance and serenity. Many readers will be able to relate as they are drawn into the world that most have never experienced. My book shows the humanity beneath popular stereotypes of prostitution, rich men marrying young girls, and the mafia mistress. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. I hope you will enjoy the attached chapters. Sincerely. Okay, it's quite a letter. So what do I think of A Warhol, a Madam, and a Murder? I like it. I think that's a great title. It certainly got my attention. For those who might have gotten lost with the number of blanks, she actually ended up marrying the man who came from a very wealthy family who was her client at one time. So after it was all said and done, then she settled after her husband was killed, and you know, I'm assuming after she got out of protective custody, then this man, I'm assuming, circles back into her life, and they are married today. So what do I think? Well, I think that, first of all, I think that this writer is going to get attention. Why? Simply because of the subject matter. I didn't read the names to you, but and that's for privacy reasons, and also, quite frankly, for protection reasons. I was uncomfortable showing or sharing any kind of information that would have pointed in the direction of this writer. So that's for her to do, not for me to do. And I thought that I could read the letter without giving too much away, and I think I accomplished that. Fascinating subject. Couldn't agree with her more. This is something that people would relate to. I would take that last paragraph out of Trauma, Chaos, and Danger. That line there, out of trauma, chaos, and danger, I was able to forge the quiet, safe life I had longed for since I was a young girl. I would probably put that up top. Perhaps this whole paragraph, I would rearrange it a little bit, and I would probably open it with that. And then the second paragraph, I would say, my memoir, A Warhol, a Madam, and a Murder. And the reason why I would do that is because this sets up the last paragraph. Out of trauma, chaos, and danger, I was able to forge a quiet life. This is a story of survival, transformation, and finding self-acceptance. This really kind of sets the story up. as to who might be interested in reading this book, and also the arc of the memoir, because I wasn't quite sure what it was until then. You know, I was, yeah, I just wasn't sure. So that kind of sets it up. It tells us this is now, this is why people will relate to it, and then here's what happened back then. So I would encourage this author to perhaps find agents who have represented mafia books, for sure. And I would also, though, encourage her to make sure, and I believe that her hubby is a lawyer, so, no, I'm sorry, he isn't. But she certainly has access to lawyering, and so I'd make sure that this was cool. Legally, because you don't want to start something and get in the middle of it and perhaps even publish it or self-publish it and then have the wrath of God come down on you. And so I would make sure that legally this was all copacetic and I could go ahead and write this memoir. And then I would set the memoir up so that we know what it is that we're going to be reading. We're not going to be reading specifically about that time when all of this horrible stuff happened to her, but that's going to be part of it. But we're also going to be in on the transformative arc of a young girl who, at the age of 14, was, you know, pretty much left on her own. And all these years later, we are of similar age. All these years later, she sounds to me like she's doing just fine. So I hope that this is helpful to her. And until the next time, be well and keep writing.